Donald Trump has not even reached the midterms of this second term. And Republicans are ready to destroy the guy a lot of people assume is going to be Donald Trump's political heir. I'm talking about JD Vance. I know that there's talk about Marco Rubio as well, and we'll get to that. But think about how bizarre the situation is right now. Normally, a vice president gets criticized by the opposing party. What's happening with JD Vance right now is that there is a coordinated campaign inside the Republican coalition. And if you've been paying attention, this is not coming out of nowhere. We've been talking about it for a while. There's a very interesting new report in the Washington Post where the allies of JD Vance say that there are Republican influencers, donors, and activists engaged in an organized effort to poison JD's chances of becoming the 2028 nominee. And they are saying that there is an organized campaign of Never Vance messaging, attacks that are portraying him as unfit to serve, and accusations that he is drifting away from Trump. Now, I want to be clear about a couple things in my analysis. I disagree with JD Vance on just about everything. His views on immigration, democracy, executive power. He has dangerous views about a lot of issues. You don't have to like the guy to recognize what's happening. This is not primarily about JD's domestic agenda. I think that this is about foreign policy. Vance has consistently been a lot more skeptical of military intervention than many traditional Republican hawks. And he's been noticeably less enthusiastic than others about what's going on in Iran. And Trump has even acknowledged Vance is different on this issue. He supports me, but JD has a bit of a different view. Publicly, JD Vance, of course, has kind of gotten in line. And this is what's making the situation very interesting. After Vance went on Joe Rogan, I guess it was last week, he complained about what he described as coordinated attacks from pro-Israel influencers. And almost immediately afterwards, criticism of Vance exploded in right-wing media, according to the analysis of the Washington Post. Now, this doesn't prove a conspiracy. Political factions coordinate all the time. They coordinate messaging. People on the left do it. People on the right do it. Campaigns do it. Interest groups do it. The important point is we are seeing the Republican Party start now with its post-Trump succession fight, years before Trump is gone, before the midterms even happen. And we have this old establishment wing that is more interventionist, the donor class, the neoconservatives. They never really embraced Vance in the first place. And they were reportedly against picking him as VP. And they wanted someone like a Marco Rubio instead, or maybe like a Doug Burgum. And for years, MAGA told us, we are totally united with the Republican Party behind America first. And they really aren't, because the second there's any uncertainty about who comes after Trump, the knives are out. And these foreign policy fractures reopen. The donors really don't seem to like JD. Influencers are discovering, the guy who was just our hero can very quickly become a traitor. And the irony is, I don't really know that this is going to work. Because for now, JD Vance's favorability among Republican voters is basically the same as Trump's. Now, you could go, well, Trump's favorability is terrible, and you'd be right. But the point is, if Vance had a bigger problem within the Republican Party than Trump does, you would see him having lower favorability than Trump. So what does this tell us? Well, number one, elite right-wing influencers don't seem to be able to control what the voters think, which is interesting. And whether Vance ultimately wins or loses is less the point than there's a Republican civil war that's already going on. And they're fighting over who will inherit this movement. And Trump's presidency is still ongoing. If you look at history, when movements become centered around one personality, like Trump, instead of durable principles, that is exactly what happens. You have a succession battle that starts very early. You start seeing factions turn on each other in very ugly fashion. And suddenly the loudest attacks aren't even coming from Democrats right now, who are sort of standing aside and going, let these Republicans figure out who they're going to put forward. It's Republicans who want to make sure JD Vance doesn't become the next Donald Trump and that the neocons can take back the Republican Party. What's our interest in it as people of the left? Well, we want, there's a belief that a robust primary will spit out the best candidate to face off in the general election. And that is often true. But this has the potential to get so ugly that it'll leave the supporters of those candidates who don't ultimately become the nominee so furious and so vengeful that they may stay home. Or maybe they'll consider voting for the Democratic nominee, or who knows what. And that is in our interest because it will help the Republican ultimately lose. Now, on the bonus show today, speaking of Republicans being upset, Donald Trump is again unveiling new tariffs expected to cost Americans $100 billion a year. And he is again saying that there's going to be big strikes against Iran. So we're right back in all of it. Meanwhile, the House admits that it used keywords to kill billions of dollars of California research grants. Control F, that's what they're doing. And the BBC is going to be able to access Donald Trump's financial records as a very dubious lawsuit starts to backfire. All of those stories are on today's bonus show, which you can get by signing up at joinpakman.com. And remember, my forthcoming book, Pay Attention, is now available for pre-order at davidpakman.com/attention. Get those pre-orders in. I'll have updated numbers probably Monday. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.